Hi, this is Stephanie with Empower Physical Therapy. So I thought today, just a little bit of housekeeping. I have pulled my videos from Facebook and I've put them onto a YouTube channel. So if you are missing out or want to know some other topics that I talked about, you can go to my YouTube channel, Empower Physical Therapy with an M. Empower Physical Therapy, and you can get more of these videos and tips. So last week I talked a little bit about recovery and how recovery leads to injuries, and so this week I've been asked to talk a little bit more about what to do if you have an injury. And so really, we've got to get down to the source. And so I'm going to kind of take you through a little bit of my evaluation process to kind of figure out where the source is coming from. And a lot of times, you know, in our medical community, we like to treat symptoms, whether it's a disease and even injuries, like you hurt in a certain area, so we're going to that area and that's where the problem is, but that's not always where the source is. And if you don't get to the source, you're never going to fix the problem. So I'm going to give you an example of a patient who came into my office with what we would call like a tendonitis. Had pain in his tendon, in the back of his foot, had also a little bit of pain in the front of his foot. And so going through the whole evaluation process was just asking him a lot of questions, and there were some things that just didn't make sense that would not be the same as what you would find if you actually found a tendon problem. But there was a lot of things that were that you did find that was like a tendon problem. So, you know, he had problems. He was a runner. He had problems decelerating from his run. He had problems pushing off his toes. These are all things that you'd be like, oh yeah, he has a tendon problem. So first thing I always do is just rule out the back. You just never know. I'm always surprised. No back pain, no back problems, and I go and I take him to in-range back extension, and sure enough, their symptoms get better. Ruled his out, no problems there. So then I went to and was taking baselines of his ankle, and when I was taking baselines of his ankle, he didn't have full range of motion. So he couldn't point his toes all the way, he could not bring his toes all the way back, he could not bring them to the inside and to the outside. He had a loss of motion in all those directions with in-range pain. And that does not sound like a tendon. A tendon you cannot lose motion in multiple directions and have pain in multiple directions with just, you know, passive or active range of motion. So anyway, I was wanting to investigate that a little bit further. And so when asking the questions on the things that make him the worst, it was always the things that made him point his toes. And so as he was pointing his toes, like going on a toe raise, deceleration, pushing off his toes, these are all things that created problems and created his pain. So I went in the opposite direction for his joint. And we started doing joint moves in the opposite direction with the toes up and adding overpressure to that. And as we did that multiple times, all of a sudden his range of motion improved, his pain improved, and he was able to raise up on his toes with hardly any pain. And that's what I sent him home with. And he comes back the next day and he's like, I'm virtually pain free. And so if I would have gone after that tendon and thought that it was a tendon problem and go after the treatment that you would do for that, it would take him a long time. But you would think that, oh, well, a tendon problem is going to take him a long time, but he still is not getting better. And by going through this process, I can get to things a lot quicker. And it's the same thing for anything else. I'll give you one more example. I had a patient in with knee pain, same kind of thing. Loss of range of motion with knee flexion, and had been going to physical therapy for a while in another location, went and saw them and was asking more questions, and come to find out she was having hip issues as well. And so I was like, you know what, let's go into the hip. We'll rule out the back first. No problems there. Went into the hip. She had loss of hip motion, did not have hip extension, bringing the leg back. Had problems there. So I went and I was like, let's address it. So I took baselines, functional baselines, squatting, strength, range, all those things, went into hip extension, and she was able to squat and had full knee range of motion. And her pain was in her knee, not necessarily in her hip. The majority of her pain was in her knee. So the moral of the story, just because of where your pain's located, where the imaging shows, all these things, you've really got to get down to the source of the problem before know what tissue we're dealing with so that you know how to treat it, and that's what an evaluation will do. But hopefully some of these will give you some tips that you'll be able to use for yourself. And again, I will be pulling these off of Facebook, putting them onto my YouTube channel, Empower Physical Therapy with an M. So like that page, feel free to share this with anyone that wants to know this information. Post it anywhere you want to post it. Feel free. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me as well. I hope you guys have a good day.